Hey guys, Urban here, Rose Nation, back with another Destiny 2 video, and this time I'm going to talk about control schemes. For the longest time, I have played PC games, shooters especially, but all games really, with my left hand, which has been kind of interesting because since most games are made to use WASD for the controls, I had to use something else because I had the mouse in my left hand. So I used a number pad, and the way that I would work it is I would use 8, 4, 2, and 6 on the number pad for the movement keys to go forward, backward, left, and right. And then I would use like the keys around that to use strafe and this, jump and different things like that. And I'd use the arrow keys to do different things. So like in Destiny 2 in the PC beta, I set the number pad up to move, and I set the 3 class abilities to be left arrow, bottom arrow, and right arrow of the arrow keys. But what I quickly discovered was that on the number pad, you have, of course, first of all, you have numlock. So the way the number pad works is that you have like numlock, and you could turn it on and off. If you have numlock on, then the keypad works like a keypad, and it enters the numbers and all that stuff. If you have numlock turned off, then it will actually be like what's printed on the bottom of the keys, which is like, instead of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's end, down arrow, page down, left arrow, nothing, right arrow, home, up, page up. So basically what would happen in Destiny 2 beta that I noticed is that I would have two different things bound. Something bound to like 8, 4, 6, and 2, which are movement keys, something bound to 1 and 3, and also something bound to page down, end, and the arrow keys. And I noticed that when I pressed the appropriate key on the number pad, even though numlock is turned on, it would fire off both the number and it would fire off both what I had bound for the number and what I had bound for the alternate label on the key, which happens when number lock is turned off. So that was a big bummer. And I was looking at the Destiny 2, the image of the keyboard layout, the default layout, and I was like, wait a minute. This is a layout that has been developed over years and years and years and years of experience. What would happen if I just flip it horizontally and use the other side of the keyboard in exactly inverted fashion and play the game that way? And that is precisely what I came up with, and it was ingenious. I actually developed it by taking the image into Photoshop and flipping it horizontally, and you can see what that looks like here. I'm using PL semicolon and apostrophe S up, left, down, and right keys, and I'm using all the other keys around. It's basically the flips right side of the keyboard. I'm still using jump space to be actually, this is an actual old version of it. I basically, right now, what I have is I actually have the right mouse set to jump, the right mouse button set to jump, and I have spacebar set to aim down sights, ADS. So what I discovered is I really hardly ever need to use aim down sights, because it's just completely unnecessary, because it takes time to get into, so it takes time to do it. It's just totally unnecessary because I can just aim at them in the head, shoot them. And it's so unnecessary that in the event that I do need to use it, I set the settings so that the ADS doesn't actually even slow down the aiming at all. So it moves at the same speed as it does when I don't have ADS set up, so that I can just move it quick and aim. So the reason for that being that I'm always used to using a right mouse button when I'm playing games like Quake. It's much more intuitive to me than using it to aim. Historically, I always use the 7 key on the number pad to aim. So I would press the 7 key and hold it in to go into aim down sights. But what caused an issue with that was that sometimes because normally your index finger would be on the 4 key, when you got to push it up to the 7 key, you have a hard time. If you need to strafe left while you zoomed in aim down sights, you can't really do it. So you got to do finger gymnastics, try to hit it with your middle finger. That's not necessarily going to work very, very well. So I'm really pleased with this setup. It's really awesome. And then I posted it on Twitter, but then I fine-tuned it, and I got to say that the way I have it is just amazing. I was literally destroying people in PvP. That's the first time I used it with this latest setup. So what I have is, as I said, I have PL semicolon and apostrophe for the movement keys. You can see it's with your hands in that position, basically middle finger on P, and then the other 2 fingers on L and apostrophe. I just raise the finger from L to O, and I can crouch or slide. I raise the other finger up to the left bracket, and I can sprint. It's just super, super simple. I made I into reload. It's exactly opposite of what the original was on the left. Made I as reload. I had to move inventory to be U, but that's okay because you don't really use inventory too much. K is a super. J is a highlight player, whatever that is. You don't need to use it that much. The class ability is M, so it's easy to get to. Basically, that's like your healing rift for the warlock. And then reload, I changed to I. That's where I moved the inventory over, because reload I changed to I because it was easier to get to. Originally I had reload to be the right bracket, but then I figured it is easier to get to, and they made it perfect. So E is normally the examine key or the interact key, and I had it set to O, but I wanted O to be the crouch because it was really hard. Originally, that had Control and Shift to set to be like crouch and sprint, but it was really hard for me to get my pinky down to Control. I believe Control was crouch and slide originally. I had a hard time getting my pinky down to that key, and when you want to, a lot of times in Destiny, you're playing Control, you want to slide into the control zone. If you're basically reviving somebody, you want to slide into that revive zone so that you just get in there super quick, able to revive them and get out. But you're having an issue where if you have to move your pinky in a really awkward way, it's not very good. So that's why I set the crouch and sprint to O and left bracket, because that enables me to just move my 2 fingers ever so slightly upward and just hit those keys super easily. It's so simple. And I basically, I mirrored everything. Like Alt and back tick is now Alt and backspace. To do push to talk. Kinetic energy and power used to be 1, 2, and 3. Now it's 0, dash, and equals. And then the backspace by itself switches the weapon. I didn't really mess with character menu because that's U now. It used to be I. I don't know why they have it here as F1 when I takes you to inventory. Not sure about that. I left the emotes on the arrow keys, and pretty much I haven't really tried to switch the weapons. Switching the weapons with the mouse wheel is a little confusing because it seems in the Destiny 2 beta they reversed it. It's sort of similar to what Apple did with scrolling when they introduced the trackpad, the Magic trackpad, because they kind of made it like the iPhone. So even though you're scrolling like you would scroll down on a mouse, the screen is moving up, so it's kind of backwards. So because your kinetic energy and power weapons are respectively displayed from top to bottom, that way on the screen, up, middle, and bottom, when you actually scroll down on the mouse wheel, it goes to the next weapon down, which is the next weapon. But you're used to, if you're playing first-person shooters with a PC, you're used to scrolling the mouse wheel up to get to the next weapon. At least I believe that's the way it is, because up is actually counting up, which usually goes to the next weapon. It's been very long for me, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is, because that's where my muscle memory took me and it went backwards instead of going forwards. So, and I'm pretty sure mouse wheel up is always next weapon, mouse wheel down is always previous weapon, but in Destiny 2 it's not the case. So I'm still going to play around with that. I really was playing around with the space bar to be either sprint or crouch because my thumb is always on it, but and ADS for me is just so unnecessary right now. Maybe I was thinking maybe I could do something else. Maybe I can make ADS to be alt or something. It just in something else space. But honestly, it is so easy to go to O and left bracket to do the crouch and sprint respectively. Then it's almost not even necessary. And then the backspace is summon ghost. And then obviously it's not on here, but to interact with stuff, it's not O anymore. To interact with stuff, it's actually shift. So it's where the sprint used to be, because that is like the pinky is almost resting on shift. Originally I had used enter and shift, but enter is hard set to open up the chat and actually start typing in there, which honestly I think that Bungie should let you change it. There's some games that I don't know why they do this, but there's some limits they do in games where it's like they do this thing where it's like there are certain buttons that you can't change, or they do other things. Some of the stuff actually is not really super clear what it is, but we just had our hands on the beta. It'll be a lot more clear once the game comes out next week. But anyway, you can see how well I'm playing right now with this, which was much better than the original setup and much better than I play with controller. If it wasn't for streaming, I would never play with a controller again. And in fact, I may actually look into getting an adapter for PS4 so I can play with keyboard and mouse, because even though I hear it's not as good, it's still, keyboard and mouse is for life. Keyboard and mouse is the way to go. So anyway, Urban Rose Nation signing off. Can't wait to play the game. Stay tuned to my Twitch, twitch.tv/UrbanRoseNation. I will be playing Tuesday night at midnight. I will be playing the game, streaming the game, and then I will be streaming probably I have to go somewhere at 8, so probably around 9 I'll be streaming, and I will be streaming non-stop through the end of the weekend, through Sunday. So I planned it out ahead of time because I knew the raid was going to be coming out probably a week after, and I want to do the raid with the team, so hopefully with the testlings. So that basically concludes the video. Love the PC beta. The PC beta is amazing. Bungie did an incredible job with it. It's super awesome. Zero complaints. The only complaints I have are the things about the controls, which I'm actually going to write up a little thing on Bungie.net about for them, so that they can see it, so it's visible, so they don't have to, check this video or whatever. They probably will not do. And then that's it, man. I will catch you guys on stream. Peace.